if it hadn't been for the ambulance service and the access to get here quickly, I wouldn't be here to talk to you today.
This is just one of the ambulances in a fleet that brings around 80,000 patients to the Whittington Hospital's Accident and Emergency Department every year. Last week, the Government Health Secretary Andy Burnham called for a halt to any plans for the A&E's closure, following a huge campaign led by the Camden New Journal and Islington Tribune newspapers to save the service.
It's people power that did it, that done it really. As I was just saying over and over again, it's the fact that we had a massive demonstration. We've got loads of signatures. We're feisty people in Islington.
It's a community win.
Last Thursday, around 250 campaigners gathered at a rally organised by the Defend the Whittington Hospital Coalition. They celebrated a cross-party political pledge to block any plans to shut the Archway Hospital's A&E by the conglomerate of NHS primary care trusts that controls the Whittington. It was also feared that the Whittington's maternity and intensive care wards and its children's ward would have to be downgraded to save £560 million. Doctors warned lives could be at risk if emergency patients were forced to go to the Royal Free Hospital, 2.5 miles away in Hampstead. Campaigners also claimed that hundreds of jobs would be lost and pressure on GPs would increase. Emily Thornberry, the Labour candidate for Islington South and Finsbury, read Mr Burnham's statement to the crowd.
I will order a complete halt in the process that is being run, and I'm asking NHS London to go back to the drawing board.
After first revealing the threat in 2007, Tribune and New Journal's campaigning stories led to a 16,000 signature petition, a series of public meetings, a parliamentary debate, and even a protest song by musician Dave Plummer.
It's always been my hospital from the day I was born here.
Politicians and campaigners were joined on Thursday by patients who used the A&E and maternity wards, such as 5-month-old Evan Potter and his mother Katie.
I went to all my antenatal appointments here as well, and then been to A&E here a few times too.
I had major surgery done here 34 years ago. I couldn't have expected better, and I wouldn't want to know it's closed.
The national health needs protecting beyond almost anything else, because it's health for all people across the board, and that's what we want to maintain.
Rachel Tyndall, the chief executive of NHS Islington, had argued that many Whittington patients could be treated in what she called lower-cost settings. Mr Burnham said the issue had become overly politicised, and some critics called his decision a U-turn. But now Labour, the Conservatives and Liberal Democrats have all promised to keep the A&E open if they win the general election on May the 6th. Whittington's 100 consultants fought the proposals, and subsequently Mr Burnham said any changes to services would need the support of local clinicians.
Andy Burnham could have done this any time in the last 6 months and saved people a lot of grief.
Our members have been very frightened to speak out about this whole process. They've also feared for their jobs.
Our community have demonstrated, rallied, and they have sent thousands and thousands of letters.
In February, more than 5,000 people marched from Highbury Corner to Archway to protest over the planned closure. They included patients, staff and politicians from all parties to fight any attempt to downgrade services at the Whittington.
Join us. The time for action is now.
A red double-decker battle bus loaned to the Camden New Journal led the march and became a symbol of resistance to the closure. Protesters said seldom had a newspaper campaign secured such overwhelming public support. Local residents on the 2.5-mile route joined some of the many celebrities to support the campaign, who included the actors Bill Patterson and Juliet Stevenson. It culminated in a huge rally at the hospital where speakers included MPs, public health campaigners and trade union representatives.
I saw how much the community cared for this hospital.
If you run over in the road, you'll go straight to the funeral parlour and not to the accident and emergency.
How much of a campaign issue has this been?
Huge. Particularly in the northern part of my constituency, we collected a 2,000 signature petition from people living in places like Holloway, northern end of the Caledonian Road, for whom this is their local hospital and they don't want to see it run down.
What's the mood like here today?
Brilliant. Community came together, back the health service, back the Whittington, and have forced the officials to back down, and now the Secretary of State has confirmed that.
It's become a massive election issue because it's just something that every single ordinary resident of Islington cares about.
People here in Camden and around, they've been worried, they've been anxious, they've had to campaign. Staff in the Whittington have been concerned and anxious. It need not have happened. But the Whittington Accident and Emergency Department, if I am Secretary of State, will be safe.
It's just a great victory, but we're not going away. I hope it's just not electoral hot air.
Non-evidence-based idea that the private sector is more efficient than the NHS.
Tick boxes, targets and the right to rule by management. The power needs to flow back to the people.
There's 100 clinicians who are here with us saying that our community is not safer by the closure of the A&E.
What about this argument that a lot of the services could be provided by GPs or at the Royal Free?
Well, the Royal Free is, you can't get to it from here apart from on the C11 bus. It's totally inaccessible. Their A&E department is much too small. It can't be expanded, so it's a ridiculous proposition.
And you think the quality of care would suffer?
Very much so. It'll be dangerous too.
Mega thank you to the Tribune and the Journal. As I said in my letter, it was the most wonderful feeling to walk down on that demo behind the bus and have your editor spouting out all the things I believed about the whole campaign. I felt very proud, and it sparkled the campaign. It wasn't just that though. It really helped get the message across to everybody in Islington. We are utterly grateful to you. Thank you.
I want to say a big thank you to the local newspapers for what they've done, the Journal, Tribune, everybody else, because they've got behind the issue, got behind the community, and in the very best traditions of local journalism.
I'm hugely grateful to the Tribune. I especially loved your bus on the day that we had the demo and the fantastic jazz band. I'd like to say thank you to all of you, thank you to Peter Gruner and Tom Foote. I love the Islington Tribune, it's a great paper.
The papers have been speaking very loudly out on this issue, and I would like to thank the Islington Tribune for their support of this campaign.
Tribune have been amazing, and they've shown that this is not the property of any one political party. It's been an all-party, cross-party, non-party community thing. And, you know, all the campaigners have done an amazing job, but the Tribune really made it.
NHS London declined to comment on Mr Burnham's statement about any planned closures until after the general election. A spokesman said in a statement, "Following stories about the future of services at the Whittington Hospital, NHS London would like to make it clear that there are no plans to downgrade A&E or maternity. Any options for changes to services at the Whittington would have to have clinical backing, and there would be a full public consultation before any changes were made."